Welcome everyone to today's webinar titled Optimizing Working Capital, Automating AP and AR. This is Brian from Strategic Treasurer, and we're pleased you could join us as we consider how AI-driven automation streamlines AP and AR tasks and helps optimize working capital. Our speakers for today are Chaz Narwicz, Principal for Invoice to Cash at Esker, and Craig Jeffery, Founder and Managing Partner of Strategic Treasurer. Welcome, Chaz and Craig, and I'll now turn the presentation over to you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We are appreciative that you are committing part of your evening, afternoon, or morning to this cool topic, optimizing working capital. Chaz, it's good to present with you again. It's been a few months.
Yeah, no, great to be back on. I know we do these about every 3 or 6 months, so I'm looking forward to this discussion. I think it's more pertinent ever that we keep evolving and keep discussing how technology is changing, how finance is changing. So I think it's important to keep up with what's going on in the world.
Excellent. So let's go through our agenda. I'll step through a couple of the items that we have. If you look at the list, the boxes on the screen, today's priorities, the importance of being strategic, how has finance changed will be a key area that we're talking through in terms of the priorities. When we get to challenges, we'll look at what are some of the obstacles to success with the cash conversion cycle or optimizing working capital. So we'll step through some of those. And then on the AI front, we'll look at some of the implications, including implications of what you can do with AI, how that can matter. We'll look at cash flow, forecast, operational efficiencies, and more. Then we'll cover the out and in payables and receivables. How do we improve those two components of the cash conversion cycle? So if you're an AP, there's stuff for you. If you're an AR, there's stuff for you. If you're in treasury, you're sitting at the center of the outflows and the inflows, and there's lots of stuff for you as well. So we appreciate all those disciplines being present. Finally, Chaz and I will do a wrap up. He'll take two elements about automation, the power of a network, and I'll pick up leveraging AI and moving ahead. How can we move ahead based upon this type of knowledge? So that's our agenda, and we will move into the evolution of finance. And Chaz is going to pick us up here on what's been changing past and what's currently in our scope. Thanks, Chaz.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thanks a lot, Craig, and thanks for the introduction. And yeah, as everybody can probably see, I think most people on this meeting that are attending this webinar are in finance or have some relationship to it. Maybe they're on the IT side, but obviously finance is evolving very quickly. The world is evolving very quickly. It's becoming more competitive. So a lot of companies are really trying to improve how they're doing things from a finance perspective in order to make sure that they're keeping up with the competition, that they're being a competitive player in the marketplace. And I think there's an increasing need to be more strategic, both from a CFO perspective all the way down to an AR analyst for the entire finance department. So in the past, really, it's been more, I guess you could call it more reactive as far as how finance teams are operating. Just the conversations that I've been having, there's just a lot of changes that are happening as far as becoming more proactive. So where it used to be more about, okay, we're going to manage a budget, we're going to have financial discipline, and we're not going to grow, we're not going to, evolve into a strategic department. We're seeing that changing pretty quick. So obviously process standardization, focused on establishing rigid financial workflows. That was something where not being as flexible and being creative to improve those processes. What I've seen in the past is that it's just, like I said before, it's just been more reactive of, hey, this is what we need to do as far as financial reporting and bookkeeping and forcing compliance and controls. Those have always kind of been part of the process, where now I think, like I said before, the world has just become more competitive in general, but not only that, companies and individuals and departments are adopting technology super quickly. And the need to be more strategic in this area has come about. And as you can see, some of the items that that we're thinking that the present finance department really needs to focus on is that cross-functional alignment of finance, sales, marketing, and operations. I think before there was something where, hey, you're just going to do your job, you're going to stay in your department silo, and you're not going to interact as much. Where we're seeing that the need to have tools to interact with sales, say if as far as invoicing and communication with customers, or to interact with operations from a supply chain perspective, having different tools and having different software technologies, that's really important in the present and also the future of finance. And managing investor relations, obviously ESG initiatives, that's something that's really big. There's a lot of talk about that, being able to report on carbon emissions, things like that. That's kind of the present and the future. Being a strategic growth partner to drive business expansion and value creation. So that also goes back to that first point of interacting with sales, helping to expand the business, and also helping to create value. Those are really important. And then leveraging real-time analytics to guide forecasting and strategy. So many companies have so much data that they're not leveraging, and there's a way to expand your business by leveraging that data. So that's a really important part of a finance team's role now, is really understand analytics and helping that to guide forecasting and the expansion of the business. And then the biggest item, last but not least, I think last but probably the most important part of this, is with the evolution, the item that's really driving the evolution or has become a big part is digital transformation and the adoption of AI. So we talk a lot about this on our team, talk a lot about this at our company, that the companies and the individuals and the departments that are going to succeed are going to be the ones that are able to adapt and master and leverage AI to be able to get to that next level, and to be able to get time back to do more of that value creation and business expansion. So there's a huge difference with the past and the present. Obviously, I mean, you look at just going from Excel spreadsheets to software systems, or going from dispersed data and not being able to leverage analytics to where we are now. There's a massive difference. So these are themes that we're going to talk about throughout the presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Chaz. As you were talking through that, I was also thinking of the aspects. You brought up a bunch of the aspects related to working capital management. There's at least two sides to it. One is efficiency. How can the organization scale and manage things efficiently? And that's part of the cash conversion cycle. And then the implications of that on how you have capital tied up in the businesses, how quickly you can turn it over, how much is needed. So the both sides of the two sides of the same coin were really apparent as you were talking through that. Yeah, and but life is not always easy, is it? There's some obstacles to be overcome.
Yeah, no, absolutely no, and you're completely correct with that. I mean, all those items, increasing working capital, being able to use the cash that you're owed, getting it quicker, collecting it quicker, and then using it, and just with the cost of cash and the ability to create more value for the company that you work for, that's really important. So there's a couple obstacles that just having conversations with companies that are looking at automation that I see. I mean, the lack of reporting and analytics. So this relates to not being able to leverage the data that you have, not being able to automatically create reports and have insight into how certain teams are doing within the organization. That's something that we're seeing as a large obstacle. So specifically with financial reporting, I mean, it's super important. It's the lifeblood of the business, working capital, and understanding that. So not being able to have access easily to that, it's costing everybody time. It's costing just the not having visibility into it. It's not the best way to run a business. So obviously cash flow and liquidity management, understanding that is really important, and being able to have the insight into some reports surrounding that, benchmarking and financial analysis, scenario analysis and simulations, tax reporting, M&A activities. That's really important to have visibility into all these areas. And if you don't, it's really, you're not going to have an optimized working capital situation at your company. The other item is infrastructure silos and point-to-point ERP systems. So that's an obstacle, because if you're working in different systems, that's something where there's duplicated effort and you're not able to really unite either teams, departments, or just really unite those different disparate systems into one area where you can have visibility into some of the items that I was talking about above. So limited business agility and scalability, leading to unnecessary technology spending. It's something where if you're maybe acquiring companies or merging with other companies and you don't have the same ERP systems, it's something where a lot of the time I had a company that I was working with that used 8 ERP system, and really what they had to do was merge a lot of this data together. And that took a lot of time to be able to present to their CFO and their executive team. So we're seeing that as a big obstacle of being able to easily merge different software systems together, the different technology systems together is really important. And then cash flow and working capital disruptions. So first, strong cash flow management supports both short-term liquidity, long-term growth planning. And again, that all relates to working capital as far as managing the cash, seeing cash in, cash out. All the treasury departments I talk to see that as very important. Being able to have the visual and the visibility of AR and AP. This is critical during periods of market volatility and uncertainty. So being able to have cash to invest and realize that cash quicker, that's extremely important, especially with inflation the past few years. It's an important item. Cash is worth a lot. We want to be able to collect that and have visibility over where it is. Inefficient and siloed internal processes often drive the biggest disruptions. It relates to the point above of having siloed internal processes. You can't unite those, and that's really what that results in is inefficient work and not optimizing and being as efficient as possible.
Chaz, just to maybe a follow on to, not a follow on, but just a question. When we talk about inefficient processes to drive the biggest disruptions, can you list some examples of inefficiencies driving disruptions? I've got a few in mind too, but just thought I would spring that on you, see if you had any thoughts there.
Yeah, well, I think that one item is, I'll start at the end with one of the biggest disruption is perhaps in a disruption to your customer. So say one example of that would be if a customer's paying and you don't get that payment applied to the proper remittance right away, or you don't get that payment applied to those open invoices immediately, and there's a little bit of time in between when the customer's paying and when it's applied in the back office. Really what that could do is downstream perhaps result in a blocked order, because a customer tries to order more. You say, hey, maybe they haven't paid for their previous order. So that can cause both, an issue with the customer, but it can also cause an issue with your revenue recognition, because you haven't recognized that revenue. You haven't said, okay, this is what that customer paid. So we're seeing, I think one area is that I was thinking of specifically is the cash application process and the downstream effects that can cause, having an inefficient process in that area. And that, like I said, the disruption, Craig, would be the disruption both with the customer, but also with your internal books and the timeliness of those to reflect what's really going on with the business. So I don't know if you had something in mind for that, but I was thinking from an income perspective. Yeah.
No, those are great. Any efficiency in a process, I would describe it this way: any inefficiency in a process leads to more defects or errors or manual intervention. And every single and that is inefficient if you're an AR or you're an AP. And efficiency may be a key driver there. If you're in treasury, all of those lead to a disproportional impact on working capital, negative impact. So the inefficient processes hits both areas in maybe a different priority. What maybe the top priority in each area might be a little different, but it has the same, negative result. So
Yeah, 100%.
I liked your examples. I knew you'd come up with other ones I wasn't thinking of, so that was great. All right, so everyone, we are on our first poll question, and due to popular demand, this is a select all that apply. There's a message in the chat box about how you can find the poll question if you can't see it. So please find it and go ahead and answer it. It says, what are your organization's biggest challenges in optimizing AP and AR today? So we start off with manual processes and inefficiency, limited visibility into cash flow, data silos across systems, difficulty reconciling invoices and payments, other or unsure. And I can see that people are on to us. If you type Esker in the chat box, we will share the poll results when we send the report out. So on this page where it says poll questions, you will see the results of the polls that we have there. All I ask is for 125 people to type the word Esker, all caps, lowercase, and mix the letters. As long as it says Esker, we're good. And Brian is required to count those up accurately and let us know when we've hit the 125, and I'll say no more needed. But if you all type it in there right away, then I won't harangue you with that request. Once you've submitted those, enter those and hit submit, we are good to go. And I think that counts as the third time that I said y'all. It slipped out coming from the Northeast. That's been 3 times. I've lived in the South for a long time, so you heard it here.
More efficient way to say you all. I just gotta have to say that.
You guys. Yeah. Okay, so Chaz, you have in front of you the number 1 is manual processes and efficiency, data silos across systems, and then we drop down to difficulty reconciling, limited visibility cash flow. Any of your reactions to this or any additional thoughts?
I mean, my first thought is manual processes and inefficiency. I think a lot of people that join this call, but just a lot of the companies that I'm talking to, that's right off the bat. I mean, it's been the biggest one since I've worked here for the past 8 years, as far as, hey, what they want to improve. But now I think there's a microscope under that, because everybody's using generative AI now. Everybody's using ChatGPT, understanding that. And I think that the understanding of, hey, this is a manual process that AI can do, I need to be thinking more strategically. That makes sense to me, that that's the biggest challenge that companies are seeing, because of the way that they're looking at their business, and because of just the awareness of it, the awareness of this is manual, I can do something better with this, and we need to make a change there. So that's my first impression. But the data silos across systems, obviously, we'll probably have some people in here that work for companies that are doing M&A, that are also perhaps in silos across departments too, where they're not using the same technology across different departments, and maybe that's resulting in some silos and some challenges regarding optimizing the working capital. So not enabling that communication that's necessary. So those are the first 2 that really stood out to me.
Yeah, it seems like the manual processes and inefficiency, those are points of handoffs, and sometimes they're caused by process silos, if you will, or data silos as well. So those are 2 of the big drivers. Pretty interesting to see this. Thanks to everybody for typing information and responses to the polls and quizzes. We greatly appreciate that. It's helpful to see that information in real time and talk about it. So where can AI make a difference? Chaz will begin this slide and I'll finish it.
Yeah, for sure. So number 1, more accurate cash flow trend predictions. This is related to getting data into a system where you can understand the trends using AI. So it's like, okay, hey, if if you look at a collection system, for example, where you can have this is your open AR file, this is where payments are coming in. it's pretty simple. AI can understand those different trends and predict it down the road if it has enough data. So that's really important is feeding the data into it and taking 3 to 6 months to really ramp up as far as being able to understand that. But that will help things run more smoothly as far as understanding your cash flow in the future, so you can make strategic decisions surrounding that. Number two, proactive working capital management. Like I was saying before, I think the finance teams of the past more reactive, where now we're seeing the present, and I like to say the future is more of a proactive approach to working capital management, understanding if a customer might be paying late. I think that's important. That's another kind of relates to the one above, as far as understanding the trends from certain parts of your customer base from an AR perspective, but being able to be a little bit, have more foresight into what's going on with the business when you're getting paid, cash inflow and cash out. Number three, improved forecasting and budgeting. So again, being able to have data all in one system and being able to see a cash forecast as far as when you might be able to expect payments, and when just to understand what you can budget for in the future. And that relates to AR and AP as well. So the next one is enhanced risk management and fraud protection. So this is really important because where this comes into play, I think, is a lot on the AP side, where there's a lot of different, well, security is just very important today, especially with the people that are committing the fraud getting more advanced and having better technology to commit that, say, by sending an invoice into you that they want to get paid, so they could commit some fraud and get paid that way. Being able to understand that and being able to have visibility on something that does not look accurate as far as an invoice, or even when you look at onboarding new vendors and new suppliers, I think that being able to have enhanced risk management surrounding that, using AI, using multiple different ways of connecting to different data sources, and then using that data to have AI say, all right, this is the amount of risk that we're seeing from this particular vendor based on these data points, or this particular customer based on these data points. I think that AI, it can help in all these different areas and in ways that make complete sense.
Yeah, as we look at the last three, I'm going to group 5 and 6 together: the ability to scale operations and reducing operational costs. And artificial intelligence, sometimes we think about just creating data, forecast, or pattern detection, but the fact that we can use artificial intelligence, some of these tools, to expand decisioning, speed up the processes, that helps us all in our goal to reduce the cost infrastructure, support the ability to scale, and to increase efficiency quarter after quarter, year after year. We can't just do it by typing faster. We have to use tools, and this is a key driver, a key area that organizations are focusing on in increasing measure, either within their own system, but more frequently by leveraging their partners, their fintech providers, and their banks to do that. So that all helps with meeting the objectives. The last point there, the better talent management and resource allocation, depending on what age cohort you find yourself in, from an age perspective or from a mental agreement perspective, one of the things that is for sure is some of the newer age cohorts, the more recent age cohorts that enter the workforce, don't want to do, I'll say, dumb things that are more manual. And we can make complaints about that all we like. But there's a lot of truth to that. The fact that there's technology to do some of the less fun tasks, I would say most people don't find them as fun, that can be more fully automated, is an increasing reality that's impacting more and more organizations. And it is a way of chasing people out of the organization if you have them do a lot of tasks that they find terrible and should be automated, and you won't automate them. And so, on the contrary side, the more you eliminate the less desirable tasks, then the easier it is to retain talent, have them focus on more interesting things, and perform some of the strategic tasks, the increased analysis, or looking at customer relationships or vendor relationships more effectively. So AI can make a difference in each of those areas for some different reasons. So good tool, and we'll look forward to that. All right, so shifting over to AI distinctions, I'm going to take the left side briefly, and Chaz will take the right side, maybe even a little bit more extensively. But on the left side, we have machine learning, natural language processing, and deep learning. And so, I'll just go from the bottom up just for interest, purposes. Deep learning is, you're probably familiar with some of the terms like neural networks, and the ability to think like a human, to detect patterns that maybe people can't detect readily, but it helps organizations to see what's standard, what's anomalous, and to be able to interpolate or extrapolate information from that and make predictions from raw data, raw numbers, raw activity. And so those are tools that are being employed that help us with things like forecasting or quality control. On the natural language processing side, we see most people classify that as an AI subset, and it's very helpful when we're asking for a question, we want to find something out. We certainly think about it in, let's say, English and human language, and to the extent that we can now use natural language to ask the question and to have the processor understand it, interpret it, and pull it out using whatever methods are necessary to get us the answer is extraordinarily helpful. It means less of a very limited subset of people who, know how to do a certain type of coding or write long scripts for pulling data out, that it becomes more democratized. More people can get the information they need. Putting the information that people need closer to them to be able to self-serve means faster decisions. Faster decisions means less errors, less handoffs, less defects. And so that's really a powerful part of natural language processing and the systems that can use to support that. And last, on the left-hand side, is at the top, machine learning. And this, as you can read, machine learning is designed to imitate human intelligence. But this is an iterative process to be able to learn and improve from the different experiences and the input. So as you continue to run these tools, the systems gain experience rapidly, as opposed to we program the system as to what to do, and it only gets better when we reprogram it. Now we have a system that takes that feedback and can get better on calculations, extrapolations, detecting patterns, etc. So that finishes the left side. I'll toss it over to you, Chaz.
Yeah, for sure. Those are all really, really excellent examples of the different types of AI. And I think that one thing is when people think of AI or start talking about AI, a lot of the time they're referencing ChatGPT. So that's this first one, this LLM and generative AI. Generative AI is obviously, I guess, the generic version of ChatGPT, where ChatGPT is a specific product, by OpenAI. But large language models use pattern recognition to generate human-like texts. Generative AI models, so there are different models out there that use large language models. So a lot of data that's all in one place can be used to spit out answers to questions. And where this is used a lot of the time is with, I'll just give an example. When it comes to software systems and being able to answer questions for customers to self-serve and answer questions relating to products or related to easy questions such as, hey, where I didn't get my credit or something related to that. It's really can help automate and help improve the conversation when it comes to being able to leverage a large language model to automatically respond to customers, respond to vendors, things like that. Agentic AI, so AI-powered agents understand the user's vision and the context of the problem. So where this is coming into play is almost assisting or taking the place of almost like an analyst, of being able to speak with customers or understand problems and being able to answer those. That it's kind of it's very related to the generative AI type technology. And then retrieval augmented generation. This is called RAG, and this is being able to take a large language model, combining the abilities to understand and generate natural language, originating from a knowledge base. So where this plays, an example of this could be if you have a customer that's on your e-commerce site, and they have a question related to something about products or something being in stock, where they ask the question, the RAG technology can go in and actually almost analyze a large language model, take the analysis of that large language model, and then respond to the customer with an answer regarding if something's in stock or something's out of stock. That's just a quick example of that. So these are the more advanced ones. I mean, I know that deep learning, NLP, machine learning are all, advanced AI technologies, but now we're coming into an era of large language models, agents, and RAG, which is kind of that next step of leveraging a lot of knowledge bases, or a large knowledge base rather, to be able to do more advanced actions. And there's a lot of value that using these more advanced AI technologies can do for treasury departments, can do for finance departments, as far as automating the low value added tasks, but also just helping to make businesses run smoother in general.
Excellent. All right, so we come to our second poll question. It's on the screen now. It's a single choice. Which of the following best describes your organization's use of automation in AP and AR? So we go from fully automated end-to-end processes down to unsure. So go ahead and select the one that seems most appropriate, and we'll go ahead and submit it. We need 44, 43, 40. We need 40 something more people to type Esker in the chat box to complete the run there, and then all the poll results will be shared with the deck when that's sent out within a week. So looking forward to seeing the results of this. All right, Chaz. So the peak seems to be between partially automated with significant manual work and limited automation with mostly manual processes. Fully automated is 1 out of 8. No automation, 5%. Exploring options, and then unsure, 16%. Does this distribution look about right for most companies if you were to aggregate them together? Do we have a above average crowd?
Well, I'm just thinking, when you say partially automated, automated is a question. When you ask that, it's a subjective term, because automation of 15 years ago is not the automation of today. So I think that that's probably the one that I would have expected, that there is some partial automation. I mean, you could say partial automation with an ERP system, or perhaps on the cash application side with the lockbox file that's being ingested into an ERP system, where there obviously isn't a lot of automation. So I think that the level of automation, to look at that's really important, especially with all the technologies that are coming out. Being up to date and being at the forefront of understanding how technology can help is really important. So yeah, I think I would expect that the partially automated one would probably be the number one. And then limited automation with mostly manual processes. Again, it's, automation's like a subjective term. So if, obviously the people that are on this webinar probably are trying to understand a little bit more about what the best of breed, best in class are doing as far as automation. So yeah, I would definitely expect that. And then fully automated end-to-end processes, again, that's something where it's always good to understand what the next thing, the next big item that's coming out that could perhaps make you even more efficient, even if you're already pretty efficient with those back end AR and AP processes. I mean, an example of that, if you look at technology from 10, 15 years ago, a lot of it was based on when you're talking about data extraction with an AP process or with cash application to extract remittance data. The old technology was an OCR type technology, OCR meaning very static and not adaptable, where now deep learning, like you had just explained before, Craig, deep learning, machine learning, and now even generative AI, those types of extraction technologies are just their age is ahead, and they're enabling a level of automation that wasn't seen before. So yeah, very interesting to see these results.
Excellent, thank you. So we will continue our discussion on AI as far as what to look for, and I'll start us off with the first category is called your data stays your. When you're looking at using AI the right way, there's a number of things to consider and include, but something that's certainly foundational is you want your data to stay within your domain. You don't want your financial data, customer information, proprietary information that would be valuable to get in the wild, to be trained with a public tool that would take that learning or take that information and then use that for additional activity. So the key thing here is that your data would stay within your domain, that it would maintain the data security, privacy, and that others won't have access to that. So your model should stay within your area. And I think that seems obvious, but we've certainly seen some people use some of these tools and putting confidential information out to generate things quickly, and that's very risky. So whether you're doing that on a broad scale in your organization or whether you're using tools by vendors like Esker, you make sure that your data stays your data.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that the internet doesn't forget. You know what I mean? That there's just an endless memory there. So just being able to make sure that your company is not putting that proprietary data out there, whether it might be something that could give a competitor an advantage or just in general would not be a good look for your company. That's really important. But AI that is purposeful and responsible, I think that the questions that you need to be asking, all right, hey, where do these large language models originate? Who are you sharing them with? What do they run on? Those are all really important. And generative AI needs to be continuously optimized for performance and sustainability. It's really important to understand that, hey, these are systems, generative AI, large language models that require a large number of compute and a large number of power, and they also need to be maintained. So it's important to understand how that's done, and it's important to understand how certain systems are leveraging those and being responsible. And then LLM as a service, it really needs to be integrated. There's obviously there's large language models out there that you could use just as separate in separate areas, such as, hey, you can be using an AP system, but then over here you can have your ChatGPT open and your Copilot open, your Grok, whatever type of large language model that you're using. But what's really important is integrating these technologies into the system itself is something that every company should be developing and maintaining. So an example with that would be within the AP system, being able to have not having to export data or export like Excel spreadsheets into another AI large language model. It's really important to have that integrated into the system, both for efficiency's sake and to have some better continuity when you're using a system. So that's really important that if you're looking at AR and AP optimization, you're looking at cash flow optimization, understanding the level of what the company is doing as far as a automation within the system. That's really important, both to understand how forward-thinking they are. Are they going to develop and evolve with you over time, if that's what you're thinking? It's really important to ask that question of understanding if it's a separate large language model provider or if it's all within the same system. All right, so next we have the procure to pay process, and I think that so just to understand this a little bit further, I think that we're giving six different areas within this where we can look to leverage AI to perhaps reduce inefficiencies and to improve visibility, improve reporting, all of the items that we were talking about before when it comes to optimizing working capital and optimizing processes. The first is on the procurement process, so that's where this whole thing starts, is when you're ordering something from a company and being able to review and purchase selection, submitting that purchase order to the supplier, and then receiving the goods or services. That whole procurement process, there's a lot of areas within that where you can automate, you can make it easier. Obviously, how businesses order from each other. It's a really important piece of the puzzle, and to be able to do that as efficiently, quickly as possible can really help you focus on the tasks at hand and the more pertinent task, important ones that you have. And then obviously in the invoice process, receiving invoices, approving invoices and matching them, and then scheduling that outbound payment. All parts of these all of these are pieces of the puzzle where you can look at them internally, understand them, and kind of evaluate, hey, are we doing this at best in class? What is the time it takes us to do this? And where can we improve this process, leveraging some of the technologies that are out there? Okay, so then a few areas where AI can play a role, and I think that all the ones that that Craig and I had talked about on that last screen can apply here. So first, as far as importing invoices, NLP and machine learning can help convert invoice data in PDFs into invoice line item data categories. And the other area where this can help is if there's actual invoices that come in, maybe the invoice is in the body of an email, being able to convert that into and automatically extract that data. That's really important. That's where AI can really help. Invoice matching and approval. So RPA, robotic process automation, can help approve invoices based on matches with POs, receipts, and contracts. So really taking data, if the data is all there to be matched, really taking those data fields and components and matching them to make sure that the invoice matches with the PO, or if there needs to be a three-way match, doing that. Reporting and dashboarding. So where Gen AI, the advanced technology of Gen AI can really help is by being able to take all this data, and I'm sure that people have practiced this before, have used ChatGPT before to do this, but being able to create a visual of data pretty easily, where before that would take some analysis and interpretation of data to be able to create different reports, create different metrics, to be able to present those to wherever they need to be presented, as far as perhaps with an executive meeting or a finance meeting. And then cash forecasting. So being able to forecast using the data that you already have, why not look at that or leverage AI to help understand the cash forecasting, and based on that accounts payable data. And then last, fraud management. I think I was talking about before, you can proactively identify bad actors and understanding, okay, hey, have we seen this type of invoice before? Is this invoice from an actual vendor, or who's it from? And being able to leverage all the data that you already have within your system to almost understand anomalies within the system, and being able to identify and prevent your company from potentially losing money. This is an area we see growing very quickly as far as fraud, and I think that it's really important for a lot of companies to have visibility over that. and to have visibility into the data that's already in their ERP or in their system.
All right, our last poll question will appear on the screen. It is a select all that apply. What outcomes would be most valuable for your treasury team for greater or from greater AP AR automation? If you're from AP or AR, still answer from the perspective of the treasury team, what you see as their key drivers. So improved working capital efficiency, reduced operational costs, enhanced real-time visibility, better decision-making, freeing up staff time, or other, or in short. We have enough Eskers in the chat box, so thank you. We are over the 125. I think we're shooting up to 150 or more, so we're good there. But yeah, once you've selected all that apply and hit submit, we'll go ahead and move forward. For the sake of time, Chaz, we might just be really quick on the poll questions, and then on the order to cash and the AR invoice automation, might need to just select a couple options to talk about. I'm just looking at the time, but we'll manage it perfectly, or close to
Sounds
it.
good.
All right, so top ones, as you can see, 56% improved working capital efficiency. That's a key treasury driver, real-time visibility, the cash positions. I'm not sure why that's not 100%, but it's 52. Freed up staff time. Yeah, looks like all of them are pretty important. We have a range of 45 to 56%, a range of 11 points between the low and the high, other than other or ensure. A lot of good stuff there. We'd love to have a little bit more time to talk about that, but I want to get it back over to Chaz on order to cash.
Awesome. So a few items or a few different steps that happen within the order to cash process. Obviously, presenting options for your customers to order from you, CPQ, price, configure, and quote they're offering to the customer, confirming receipt of order to the customer. These are all processes that seem easy, but it's really something where you can look at each one individually, and there's an opportunity to improve a lot with a lot of companies that we're talking to. And then the invoice process seems easy too, sending the invoice to the customer in the preferred electronic or other format. Tracking the status of the invoice is really important so you can understand when you're going to get paid, and then when the payment does come in, being able to process that payment, hand it off to collections so that they can send payment reminders out and see why they're not getting paid. So there's a lot of key items in this process where they seem simple, but there's a lot of opportunity to improve them, especially at scale when there's a lot of orders and a lot of invoices coming through your organization. Okay, so a few areas to touch on. I won't touch on all of them, but I think that one of the biggest areas, if you look at credit management, being able to use machine learning for credit decisioning, where typically that takes one or two people in an approval process for your customers in order to extend credit out to them. Cash application, being able to extract data off remittances using machine learning, but also using RPA to match incoming payments with those open invoices, taking different data points and automatically matching them, where before that would take someone looking at looking at a payment, looking at a remittance, and matching that data manually. So those are the two items that I could touch on, Craig. With that, I don't know if we wanted to go through that a little bit more, but I feel like we don't have too much time left.
Yeah, no, that was helpful to go through those and everybody get a copy of the slides for a little bit more in-depth reading and review. That does bring us to the final thoughts. So we have 4. Chaz will take the first 2. I'll take the final 2. And this is a pull together of much of what we said so far, with a little bit of an additional guidance as we look ahead.
Yeah, I think it's important. So if you look at automation, just having a view of the potential area or the potential that your company has to automate, the future state, the desired future state, and then looking at that as a foundation of optimizing working capital. That's really important. because obviously cash is king. It's the lifeblood of the organization. And it's really important to be strategic here and look at automation and or just understand what's out there, having the knowledge to see, hey, this is where we could be, this is what we could do in order to improve that. That's the first step, is just getting educated on it. Because everything is, I know I'm glad we do these webinars every 3 or 6 months, because technology is changing quickly. I mean, I think we had 3 different new sets of AI since our last call on here. So it's really important to understand automation, to know how that can help with working capital and to improve your organization. Power of a network, eliminating data silos by connecting bank systems and partners. Obviously, I think that a lot of companies are growing. A lot of companies have mergers and acquisitions that are going on, and there's a lot of different decisions being made as of investing in systems. But being able to have systems that talk to each other and being able to connect multiple departments in an organization, that's really important, as well as improving the visibility across those departments and across what in the past has been more of siloed areas. It really enables better, stronger decision making when you're able to have visibility across an organization. Yeah, back to you, Craig.
Sure. I'll touch on leveraging AI. So on the AI side, we've heard quite a bit about it, and I'm sure most people are getting more and more information on what AI can do. And so when we talk about that, and we leave you some final thoughts, is start smart and small, but get started. And so started might be testing it, running some pilots that are parallel, and then eventually incorporating that into your process, whether it's supported by the business, a business tool, a vendor, a fintech that has these capabilities built into it, whether you're doing something with your IT group to accomplish certain transactions. Get started, learn, iterate, and leverage these powerful tools in a safe manner. The second point here that we want to talk about briefly was the strategic and the financial. I know we always think about return on investment is always a financial calculation because that's how it's designed. But there are tangible benefits, time saved, better, results from lower fraud, other elements that get harder and harder to measure. But the benefits that are strategic can be things like, now we're able to scale. We don't have step cost. We're more rapidly able to determine forecasts or variances or potential fraud. So as you think about and plan, leveraging AI touches on a number of these areas, from operational efficiency to supporting the tactics you have to addressing the strategic requirements of the organization. So that's the second area, both strategic and financial. Then finally into the moving ahead section. So this is not just moving ahead with AI. This would be moving ahead with automation, kind of the theme of what we're talking about, optimizing working capital, automating AP and AR. How do we move ahead? So this is, first identify the areas that need improvement. What are those areas that need to be improved? What are the potential solutions for that? Is it different people, different technology, automation, AI automation? What makes sense? So identify those areas. Then you're going to need to partner as appropriate. Some things you can build on your own. Others you need to partner with fintech, with your banks, with other organizations, even consulting firms, to help manage a more efficient, more strategic operation, one that's more scalable and resilient. And then the last part is oftentimes overlooked or not performed. This is measure the gains and the benefits of your automation, of how you enhanced your ability to scale. What does that look like for your organization, both, I'll say, anecdotally as well as from a quantitative standpoint? Sharing that and showing the performance change over time is extremely helpful for getting more resources, more commitment, more buy-in to this continual improvement approach. So reducing defects, automating manual processes, Those all help the cash conversion cycle and managing working capital. And so those are the thoughts that we have to leave with you. I know we have just a couple minutes. We will turn over to Brian in just a second. But Chaz, I wanted to thank you for stepping through so much content today. It was very helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Craig. I thought that went excellent, and always exciting to talk about AI and how it can help free up people to do more important tasks and perhaps make all of our life easier. So,
Well, thank you. And thanks everyone for attending. I want to turn over to Brian. He's got a couple announcements. There's also a free resource for you as well. So thank you and welcome back, Brian.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Chaz, and thank you everyone for joining us today. The CTP credits, today's webinar slides, and a recording of today's webinar will be sent to you within 5 business days. And for more on improving cash flow, be sure to download the ebook, Transforming Payments, Improving Cash Flow in AP and AR by clicking the link in the chat box. Thank you, and we hope you have a good rest of the day.